Good morning, beloveds. Happy Father's Day. Today we're going to be talking about the inherited mind, fathers, stories, and the power to reimagine our lives. When I thought about reimagining, I thought, well, really it's becoming the alchemist, but we'll get there. Today we celebrate fathers and grandfathers, mentors and coaches, teachers. And like so many have said that in their eloquence, the divine masculine in all of us. We appreciate these influences and how they have helped to shape our lives. And if we're honest, in the shaping of our lives, there has been good, and there has been some, or not so good. And all of that, as it was mentioned by Kathy earlier, is God. All of that within it has the presence of God. So I thought about my own father, and it's interesting because I know he meant to teach me many things, and some were intended and some were not intended. You know, my dad taught me one of my favorite lessons, which is, he was never a stranger in a foreign land. He was only one introduction away from meeting his new best friends. And it was so funny because he was always there. Like, my dad has a walking disability, and so when we were kids, we would be running and go into like maybe an amusement park, and my dad would patiently wait for us. And there was never a time where I was like, oh, Dad has to be by himself. Because every time we returned, my dad was talking to 2 or 3 more new people. And as a teenager, I'd be embarrassed. I'd be like, Dad, you don't even know those people. He's like, of course I do. That's Jane. That's Bob. They're from England. They've got an accent. They love their children. And it's just, and he was telling them stories. And people sat by my dad and would listen to his stories. And I know I've joked here before, my dad never lets the facts get in the way of a good story. So these stories might have taken an adventure of their own. But here I am in my life, and every Sunday I get to come here and tell stories and talk about the facts or the truth and be in an authentic moment. Because the other thing that my dad was doing is that even if he wasn't telling the verbatim facts, he was always authentically himself. He really was. He didn't mind if it bothered you. He definitely didn't mind if it bothered me. And there was something to be learned from that. And there was also this time where, he would teach me practical things like, Natalie, if it's broke, fix it. Or get it fixed. Don't just throw it away and buy something new. That's reckless for our environment. He's like, if you can't fix it, then at least recycle it. And my dad was a huge recycle guy. So much so that sometimes on a Saturday when there was nothing to do, my dad would put my brother and I in the back seat with a large garbage bag, and we would be the roadside pickup for all things recyclable. And my dad thought this was a wonderful activity. And my brother and I, we sometimes agreed, we sometimes did not. But what it taught me was how much trash we throw to the roadside. And what it taught me is that there's a responsibility of caring for things that you didn't do. And so I don't think my dad was like, how do I teach my children this? No, I think my dad just was a recycler. So that's what we did. And then to be very honest, there were things that were difficult to love about my dad. His anger could tear through our house like a roaring tiger and scare everybody. And he would be angry for a while. And the truth is, it was never, ever his idea to come and support me. Like, my dad wouldn't think, oh, let me go support Natalie at her soccer game today. I had the lead. I was playing Golda and Fiddler on the Roof in my high school play, and my dad never came. You know, there was something good on TV. Okay. But there were times when he would show up, and mostly it's because my mom said, "You're going." And today, I don't think it would still be his idea to just show up to support me, but he does it in his own ways. He asks me often, "Hey, how's that Sunday gig going for you?" So we talk about it. You know, my dad was in a car accident when I was 1 year old, and he suffered a severe brain injury, and he came back from that in so many ways. And so what I learned from that was we can do hard things. We can. Sometimes what feel like insurmountable things. I'm still willing to show up. My dad taught me that hard work was important, and he worked hard for as long as he could. And he thought education was really important. After his accident, he was only able to regain about a 5th grade reading level. So I've always just appeared to be smarter than my dad, but I'm not wiser. Not for sure. And he did teach me something very important, and that is that I can love someone beyond the condition. We like to say we'd like to love people without conditions, but we're human. There's conditions. There's things we feel. And what I learned is that I can love my dad beyond those conditions. And I didn't learn these things in some Hallmark movie or after-school special. I learned these things through difficulty and struggle. And I know that I'm not alone in sharing that. There are pieces of my story that resonate within you, because relationships with fathers can be complicated. And the thing about it is my dad, like the reading today said, he still grows. He still is not the same person that I knew as a child. The fact that he tells me he loves me on his own now, mostly without me asking, is a good thing. And he's very funny, and we love to laugh together. He's not a one-dimensional person, but no one is. And I knew that in telling these stories about my dad, you would hear the stories of your own. And the reason I know that is because we belong to one another, because we are connected as humans together. And the idea that these stories, they're always there with us. Every one of us, if we pass this mic, could tell us about the inherited stories we inherited from our fathers or from our caregivers, from our parents. And the truth is, we all inherit stories from people who raise us. And maybe you're thinking about your story right now. Maybe your dad taught you to work hard or to be kind or keep your word. And there's other things that we learned along the way too. Some of these things are about how to fight for our limitations. Things like, you know, Natalie, money doesn't grow on trees. I bought my dad a money tree. You know, don't get too big for your britches. Or my favorite is, well, what will people think, Natalie? These were all the things that he was kind of, you know, lassoing me in with to keep me in line. Howard Thurman wrote that we're shaped by the experiences and voices that surround us. And James Hollis suggests that much of adulthood is actually realizing we've been living according to the scripts that we've never consciously chosen. In other words, somewhere along the line, we became actors in plays that we didn't write. And we forget that out of all of these voices that surround us, our voice truly matters. And our voice is deeply connected to that still small voice inside of us. And when we make that connection, we have that understanding, when we return to the harmony or the alignment of that, we are empowered to take these inherited stories and blend them with our own and become the alchemist that, with spiritual practice, moves these stories into something that expands. That's something that returns to love. It wakes us up from performing life and moves us into this present moment where we can actually be empowered to be one again and again in our understanding with God. And so in the moments when my dad would roar like a tiger and I would be angry with him as a teenager, I wasn't thinking to myself, well, what's my story here? That's what adulthood brought me. Thank you, adulthood. But the thing of it is that getting present and understanding those inherited thoughts helped me to bring them into where now I am writing the script. Where if I'm really delving into it, I can lift this veil of performing and I can be real and authentic with myself. And the empowerment of that brings me through my own spiritual practice of coming back to that voice of God within me over and over. It brings me to this green growing edge of expansion for my own consciousness. And that's something that we do here together in this community. We actually live in the present and have the audacity to be in this green growing edge of our own expansion of consciousness. We have aha moments. And when we have difficult times, as you saw reflected here today, we have a medicine of loving that brings us back to our own empowerment, that brings us back to our own power of imagination, that we will have the audacity to, what's the line in the song? Make the world a better place, but it's, you can change the world, there's nothing to it. Yeah, thank you. Charles Fillmore taught us that transformation begins with consciousness, that we're not prisoners of our old beliefs, that we can examine them and we can bless them. We can thank them for getting us this far. And if necessary, we can walk them and have them exit stage left. The power of imagination and our gifts of wisdom. They were never meant to freeze us in time, only to recycle their own thoughts in consciousness. My dad taught me how to recycle the physical material of the world, and he also inadvertently taught me how to recycle his thoughts until I have the empowerment to interrupt them. You know, it's kind of like a software upgrade. Like if I was still working on a Commodore 64, isn't that the oldest computer ever? And I was expecting that to continue with the work that I have. Or I have a choice where I could upgrade and take the new understanding and make it my own. And now, you know, AI is coming for all of us. So it's almost like you get the opportunity to upgrade the system that you're working with and the modality of which you practice, of the ways that you can find God in everyone and everything. I like that. Because when I start running on the old system, the 1985 corrupted coded system, sometimes when I get to the screen of joy, it just freezes. And it's like I can't even touch it. I can't get it to unfreeze. I can't get it to be experienced in my body and my spirit. And so when I accept this sense of releasing old scripts, I get to step into this new system where the screen unfreezes and I get to be present and I get to actually feel joy. Yesterday I was at a graduation party and it was along this beautiful pond, and I remember sitting there at one time just kind of in my own thoughts and was like, I'm really here right now. I really am not trying to perform for whoever's at the graduation party that I may or may not know. I just was present. And what was present there with me abundantly was joy. And it's because I've released enough and you know what I mean? Shifted enough of that old thought into where the newness is. I let the good support me. And there I was experiencing joy. So our task isn't to reject our fathers or our past, not at all. It's to honor the gifts while releasing the limitations. Perhaps the greatest tribute we can offer those who came before us is not to repeat their stories. Not to do that automatically, at least. But to continue this evolution that they've begun. I mean, the truth is, my mom was like a hippie rebel, and my dad was a rebel, and those two rebels got together, and they named their first daughter Natalie, who was the actress you'll remember is from Rebel Without a Cause, Natalie Wood. Yeah. Okay, you see it. Perhaps the best tribute we can give those who came before us is just to ask ourselves these questions. Which stories still serve my highest good? Which beliefs help me love more deeply, live more freely, express more fully who I am? And I'd like to remind you that the I am is the holy name of God given to Moses. And that our holy name is also I am. And so when we say, how can I more fully express who I am? There's that connection back to your divinity. On this Father's Day, may we honor those who shaped us, forgive their imperfections, appreciate their gifts, and courageously choose the stories we will carry forward. Because the most powerful inheritance isn't in what we received. It's what we consciously choose now, and to be here, right now. So I have an affirmation to close out today, and I'd like to read it to you, and then I will have all of us read it together. Haku, if you'll bring up the slide for the affirmation. Thank you. I gratefully honor the gifts and lessons I have inherited, and I release any story that no longer serves my highest good. Guided by divine wisdom, I engage my power of imagination to consciously choose thoughts, beliefs, and possibilities that support the life I am here to create. Let's say that together. I gratefully honor the gifts and lessons I have inherited, and I release any story that no longer serves my highest good. Guided by divine wisdom, I engage my power of imagination to consciously choose thoughts, beliefs, and possibilities that support the life I am here to create. Happy Father's Day, everyone.
If you would like to support this content and others like it, please give at unityoftoledo.com, where love is an everyday experience.